Have you ever wondered if you have a habit of pain? Now, pain is an essential part of life. It protects us. It does that by alerting us to injury or danger, like when you might touch a hot stove or just a pulled muscle. However, pain doesn't always serve this kind of protective function. For some individuals, pain can persist long after the physical injury they may have had has healed, creating what now can be described as a kind of habit of pain. This concept, while not completely new, sheds light on how our nervous system can become addicted to the sensation of pain, even when there's no injury present. Over the years, many people have come to me, and in courses that I teach in my private practice, and they'll say things like, I find it really strange. I injured my knee 20 years ago, and then I got over it, and I'm fine. And now lately, I'm getting exactly the same old knee pain, but I haven't done any particular exercise that would create that. I don't have trouble walking up the stairs. It just hurts. Now, has it become a new pain? A newly formed one? No, none of this is from an injury. Your body is filled with nerve receptors. Sensory receptors, primarily called proprioceptors. Proprioception tells you things like, where are you in space? Where are your hands in relation to your mouth, so that you don't stab your face with a fork, but that you do get the food in your mouth? When you take a step, what muscles do you need to use spontaneously to balance so that you can take the next step? Your body is full of receptors for that kind of spatial awareness and body awareness of yourself in space. Then, of course, you have pleasure receptors. We eat foods that are good and not necessarily good for our health, but hey, they're addictive, right? Oh, that crunchy salt and pepper chip. How about things with loads of ice cream with saturated fats? There are a lot of things like this, and people can become addicted to food altogether. Some people overeat and overindulge because it's satisfying. They get sensations that are pleasurable. Same thing with sex. Some people kind of overdo it, and they don't even realize they're overdoing it. They're just seeking to get a sensory satisfaction again. However, throughout your body, along with all the proprioceptors and all other sensory receptors, there are also something called nociceptors. Nociceptors are specialized nerve fibers responsible for transmitting pain signals to your brain. These receptors are distributed throughout your body, and their function is to alert us when something is wrong, such as physical damage or maybe inflammation. Now, you have to understand that pain is a good thing. I know that sounds funny, but I mean, pain is a good thing. What do I mean by that? Well, it protects you. Okay. The worst thing that could happen to somebody is to be born without adequate nociceptors. And what we know is, when that happens, they're in great danger. Fortunately, it's a small percentage of people. But they could put their hand on a hot stove and not even realize it until they've singed themselves badly. People can also break a bone and keep on running because they have the willpower. Rather, their nociceptors maybe didn't respond. Later on, however, they might just be sitting around and they'll get up off of their sofa or chair at night and move themselves in a certain way where the bone moves a little bit, where it was broken during the running. And suddenly there's a shooting pain. And they have no explanation for it because when they ran, it didn't hurt them. And there have been marathon runners who ran on broken legs. They just never realized it until well after the race. So this network of nociceptors is essential for understanding how our experiences of pain can become habitual. Just as the brain can develop patterns around pleasurable experiences, like craving sugary foods or whatever, it can also form patterns around painful experiences, causing the sensation of pain to persist long after the injury is healed. we can have an addiction to the feeling that we get from pain. The concept of being addicted to pain might sound strange, but it's grounded in how the nervous system works. When pain becomes a habitual experience, the neural pathways that carry pain signals are reinforced, much like how habits are formed through any kind of repetition. Over time, this can cause a situation where even after the healing from the injury completely, an individual can continue to experience pain because their brains are so accustomed to the sensations. Some people can go for a walk. Some people can go for a walk and feel, oh man, my ankle hurts, my balance, I was struggling with it, my hip hurts. Oh, maybe I should go to a surgeon and have them take a look at my knees and my hips, because they hurt. Okay, fine. And a doctor might find something wrong with your hips and knees. Years ago, when people had pain from their backs, for example, they had a back problem. And a back problem means it hurts. And it hurts in a variety of ways. It could hurt bending down, picking something up, getting up out of a chair, a lot of things. So with this problem, they began to go, well, what can I do about this except go to the doctor? And the doctor takes, let's say, an MRI and an X-ray of your spine. They look at the spine and they go, well, you're fine. We're glad to report that there's nothing wrong with your spine. We can't find anything at all. It looks perfect. You're lucky. The cartilage is intact. Nothing slipped in your vertebra. Sorry, sir, but, let's send you to the physical therapist to do some exercises. Now, okay, but here's an interesting thing about nociceptors. That person, however, might have had a severe pain when they went to the doctor and got this information. However, somebody else might get in a car accident and it's terrible. The accident is terrible. They got serious damage to their spine. Their back is hurting for a very good reason. Muscles are pulling hard to hold the spine together. And they get out of their car with help. The police may have to help them get into an ambulance and go off to the hospital. And you'd wonder what the doctors would find. Well, sometimes they find nothing. People go to the hospital in the same condition as the other person. This time the doctors can see damage of all kinds that's revealed in the X-rays and MRIs and other tests that they might run for them. But actually, they're the kind of person to whom they've become inured to their pain. They just don't pay attention to it much. And in fact, they heal very quickly and the pain goes away even sooner. So discrepancies between these two examples led researchers to start thinking of pain in an entirely different way. A little more modern idea is that the different experiences of pain can occur because the brain has formed what's called an attractor well. This is a concept used to describe how certain patterns throughout our bodies and in nature, how certain patterns, including pain, can become deeply ingrained habits and difficult to break free from. I get a lot of clients complaining that they just got out of bed in the morning and felt, oh man, I must have been sleeping funny, my neck is killing me, or my back is hurting me. But maybe their nociceptors are firing as they habitually do. In an interview, you might find this out, that these kinds of things happen to this person throughout their life, and quite often. The return of pain. And you have to look at it as the nociceptors falling into what's called an attractor well. Now, an attractor well is a somewhat modern term. One of the things to think about is like a rock rolling along the ground, or a ball rolling around the ground. Somewhere in the ground there's a well, a little hole in the ground, and the ball heads for that hole. And what's it going to do? It's going to roll into the well. It's not going to keep going over it. So it falls into the well. Then, how do you get the ball out of the well? This would be a question like, well, how do you have a solution for your pain? What do you need to learn? What do you need to feel or change so your nociceptors aren't screaming at you? So, okay, you might have done something or other and you feel better. That means the ball would be out of the attractor well. But whenever you roll that ball, it's going to probably go to the lowest point, and it's going to roll by itself, easiest, downhill a bit. It doesn't have to be much, and it'll roll faster and faster and fall back into the well. All of us have attractor wells. Some of us have a shallow attractor well. And in fact, things don't stick for very long. Meaning, oh, wow, that hurt. I remember when that really hurt. But actually, it's not bothering me that much anymore. Somebody else may have had a mild strain, but it keeps hurting as a mild strain for 20 years, even more. So that somebody who's attractor well is creating the habit of pulling the person's self, if you will, into pain. All of this is part of what's called the neural matrix, meaning the matrix of varied possible ways that your brain organizes basic information about your body, like, ouch, that hurts. I should be touching a flame. I shouldn't be touching a flame. Or, oh, my knee hit something hard. Damn it. Or, oh, if I just avoid stepping in a certain way, I can stop hurting. Ah, now I can walk without back pain. Huh, great. What am I doing so differently? So I can learn from that experience, and so I don't have to go to the doctor, and I don't need any specialized treatment. Instead, I need to change the way in which I organize the pleasure and pain wells that are all part of what's called the attractor wells. In other words, some people unconsciously are attracted to pain. That's a wicked problem. Pain habits are devious. They're very difficult. To reorganize your sensory wells, it's helpful to work with a professional, one-on-one, but one approach to get started is to return to the exploratory movements of your youth. For example, to move at all as a child, as an infant and a young child, you had to perform repeated movements again and again and again until you felt what you needed to do, let's say, to get your legs working and your trunk working so that you could stand up. That's a kind of direction, that kind of thing. Now you may think, what's the attractor well there? There are people who at the age of 40, 45, look at the floor and go, oh man, once I get down on the floor, I don't know how I'm going to get up again without strain or furniture nearby to help. It just hurts so much. My back hurts, my knees hurt, my whatever, anything can hurt. And that's a person for whom the floor becomes something like an attractor well. It pulls them in and they go back to childhood, and it's like, uh-oh, I don't know what to do. I can't get up. Now, children cry over a lot of things. They fall down, they hurt themselves, and they cry. However, I've never seen a kid, and I've never even heard of a child who cried because they learned to stand up. That's a happy moment. That feels good, apparently. So that's a great attractor well, therefore, for the child to have and carry throughout their life, including when they might want to lie on the floor at the age of 60 or 70 and get back on again, and to look at the floor and not feel fear. So think about it. Do you feel that pain for you might be a habit? Pain is a complex and necessary part of our experience, but it can also become a habit ingrained in our neural pathways. Understanding how the brain processes pain and how we can retrain those pathways is essential for overcoming chronic pain so individuals can break free from any of the attractor wells of pain and live healthier and more comfortable lives. The goal is not to eliminate pain. This is important to understand. It's not to eliminate pain entirely, but to differentiate between protective pain and habitual pain that no longer serves any purpose. I'd like to describe a case study of one of my patients and their encounters with the habit of pain. I worked with a 60-year-old woman who had pains everywhere in her body. They had experiences of waking in the morning with extremely tight hands and itchy pains that they felt often in their skin. In stepping on the floor to get out of bed for the first time in the morning was an unpleasant experience, meaning their feet didn't feel good in the beginnings of just bearing weight and having to walk those first steps were uncomfortable. She had pains everywhere. It was really not a matter of finding out which pains finally. There were so many of them. Now, of course, what I had to do was avoid having her hurt in relationship to my touching her and moving her. I didn't trust her moving her own body at all, because in fact, every time she did, she would grimace, so it hurt her in some way. Lying on her back, I said, "Could you please bend your knee on your right leg so that you could stand your right foot on the table?" And she could do it, but with great effort. Incredible stiffness in the breathing and in her face and chest, but she did it. And I thought, nope, no more. So I moved her back and forth into that position of standing the foot on the table. But I had to do it in a very particular way that was felt by her nervous system as easy and hopefully even pleasurable. I did this with many movements that you might call ordinary but fundamental movements of the human body that hurt her. Finally, after only a couple of sessions, when she got done, she felt like weeping. Now, at first, when I saw that in her face, I thought, uh-oh, did I go wrong here? What did I do? That was wrong. But in fact, she was weeping from relief. The relief that she felt in a sense that she could sense her body. She could just simply sense her body. Where she was in space, the pressure of sitting, her feet on the floor, the whole thing. She could sense herself without any pain. And that meant for the first time she could sense herself without having a sensation of herself constantly related to pain. Breaking that habit is really important. And now, she's an extreme case. However, everyone might feel this way a little bit at times. Something hurts, let's say it's a leg, a knee hurts. That's a common one, right? A knee hurts. And so the person can't do certain things well, right? It hurts to walk, it hurts to climb stairs, especially when the knees hurt downstairs is even worse. And then we tend to go, well, it's a knee pain. It's a knee pain, and maybe it means that there could be orthopedic damage at the knee. Well, that could be. But that's not true for a lot of people. In fact, most people. Because I see clients whose doctors say, no, their knees look fine on the x-rays and they're structurally okay. But they come to me with pain. They have to learn. And my job is to help them learn how they can move their pelvis differently, how they can stabilize on the other leg, not stepping down a stair. What are they doing in their back when they move their legs? Let's say the left foot is going down a stairway first. Well, then that means the right leg has to be exceptionally stable to allow them to land on the left leg without it hurting the knee. They have no control over that with many muscles that they aren't aware of at first, so it takes time. However, once they develop that greater awareness, they get the idea that they can have control over their pain and that they can develop their own pleasurable attractor wells. And so can you. Visit my website, frankwildmanmovement.com, to book a consultation. I hope you enjoyed this.